Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to talk about green card interview, specifically employment-based interview. I know there are lots of videos and information out there for family-based and marriage-based green card interviews, but there is very less information on employment-based green card interviews. So I thought I would make a video because this is the right time. A lot of people will be going through this interview process in the coming months or year. So let's look at what you can expect as part of the green card interview if you are in the employment-based category. So if you are interested in this topic, watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only. And for your specific immigration needs, you should hire a competent immigration lawyer. Now, interview is the last step in the process. Based on what your application type is, whether it's 485 or whether it's consular processing, you will attend an interview. In the past, employment-based category did not specifically have an interview within the US. So when I am talking about I-485, it means you are already in the United States and you are going through your green card application through an employer. In the past, there were no interviews for employment-based green cards. There were very small percentage of people who would be called in if they were in the employment-based category. Typically, the interviews happened for family-based or marriage-based because they wanted to make sure that the marriage was legitimate and the family ties were legitimate. But in 2017, the previous administration started mandatory green card interviews for employment-based category as well. So since then, every single applicant in the EB category has to go through an interview at the end of their green card process. That's when either the visa officer will actually make a decision or soon after. So when does this interview actually happen? It happens towards the end of the process. I have made a video on I-485 next steps. So every single thing that happens after you submit your adjustment of status, which is I-485 application. In that process, you will go through several different things and at the end, you will get a letter for an interview. So you do not want to miss this appointment for an interview because it is at your local USCIS center. So by this time you have already gone through your biometric, you have already received your EAD and advanced parole card, and you have probably submitted your medical exams as well. Now the only thing that has not happened is your I-485 application is still in the pending status. It has not been approved yet. And as per the mandate, statutory mandate, now they are actually required to call you at a local USCIS office to actually talk to you. So what should you expect? What should you carry? So you'll typically get a notice of interview appointment in the mail. Each and every applicant, which is dependent applicant as well as the primary applicant, will get a separate invitation notice. Typically it all comes at the same time. So you'll get number of letters depending on the size of your family. All of them will come at the same time. They will all have a same date and time and a location mentioned on the letter. Now this location of the USCIS field office is closer to where you live. So the address that you have given in your I-485 application, that address will determine which location or USCIS field office your interview will be held at. Now if it happens that you have given some other address, which is quite possible, you may be given a location that is very far for you. So in that case, you may want to reach out to USCIS to either change the location or make sure that you have made travel arrangements to go to that location for the interview. Now let's say you got the notice. What's on the notice? Typically on the notice, you will see the list of documents that you will need to bring for an interview. That list will include all the 797s that you have since you set foot in the United States. So say for instance, you have been waiting for your green card for over 10 years. So you must be in United States on some status, either H1, L1, visitor, F1 or whatever, and you will have a lot of I-797s along with it that you have received throughout the years. You want to make sure that you carry all of those. Another thing on the list you may find is original and photocopies of all these documents. So they will ask for originals of your birth certificate, of your degree certificates, of your mark list, previous employment history letters, and things like that. They will also ask you for your tax returns for the last few years. Typically, it's ideal to take tax returns for the last 5 years along with you. Now, if you have pay stubs from the recent employment, it might be advisable to take them along with you. That will prove that you are already working for the current employer or the new employer which you are going to mention to the visa officer. Now, anything that you will prove that you were in the valid status in the United States throughout the time that you have been in the US, that will help. Things like you have maintained your mortgage, you have been paying your credit card bills, you can show your address on those bills, things like that. The intent of this is you want to make sure that you carry things that will prove that you were in the United States at the address and in valid status. Now, once you have all these documents gathered, you want to make sure that you also have a photocopy of all of these. The reason is sometimes it's easier for the visa officer to just get the photocopies from you rather than taking all your bunch of original documents and making the photocopies during the time of the interview. So it might be advisable to take it along with you just for the sake of convenience. Now, another important thing to note is you also will need to do your medical if it has been a long period of time. You might want to watch my video on I-693, which is medical records, which is medical exam required for green card. There is a set duration, that is the validity of your I-693 form. So make sure that your 693 is valid. If it was already submitted long time back and if it has expired, make sure you carry a new valid 693 which is in that validity period of 60 days prior to submitting at the time of the interview. So once you get your interview notice letter, you want to plan your medical if it is required. And all of these documents are pretty standard, so you don't need to wait until you get the notice for interview to start collecting this document. You should be ready with it during the time when you are waiting for your adjustment of status. Now, about the interview. So what happens if your family is large, if you have a large number of dependents, and if somebody is not able to attend the interview date? It is absolutely critical that you call USCIS and make alternate arrangements. So typically USCIS will want you to come in as an entire family, whoever is on the application list. So it is advisable to go do the interviews together. But if it is absolutely necessary that interviews cannot be done together, then you might want to advise USCIS as such and make such arrangements in advance as soon as you receive the notice of your interview. But here is the most important thing you need to remember. Make sure you attend the interview. If you cannot, you must contact USCIS to make alternate arrangement. If you don't show up for the interview, your case will be denied outright. Now, for the interview, once on the interview date, you want to make sure that you be at the USCIS field location at least 30 minutes prior to the date specified on the letter, because there is certain process that you need to go through. Once you arrive, you may be going through an airport style security system where they check your baggage and you enter through a scanner. Next, you will need to go and meet at the front desk where they will check all your documents, your interview letter and everything. Make sure you carry all the appointment letters for all the family members. Now, if there are minor family members that are minor, it is not absolutely necessary for you to take them along with. Your letter will specify who needs to come. If there are children under age or toddlers, they may not need to attend the interview. So make sure you read the letter very carefully. All adults and children above a certain age must attend the interview. Now, once you are in, once your documents are checked by the front desk, there is a waiting area where you might be waiting for some time, because there are a lot of people who are in the interview process, and you might see a lot of different categories of visa interviews happening at that location, such as citizenship interview, green card interview, asylum interviews, and so on. So there are all kinds of people you'll see in the waiting area. Now, wait for your name to be called. The visa officer will call out your name and then they will escort you in the interview room. Now here is the most important part. Don't be nervous. Make sure you have read the I-485 application very thoroughly, even the I-140. If you did not have it earlier, make sure you request a copy of it well in advance. Go through all the answers yourself with your spouse and your dependents. Make sure you know exactly what was written on that application, because in this green card interview, they're going to go through all those questionnaires. The first, they will ask your name, they will ask your address, they will ask your date of birth. They will make sure that you are the valid person who is getting the green card interview. Now, you are under oath it is absolutely critical that you answer all the questions truthfully. A lot of information that they already know from the public domain is going to be asked as a question to you. So don't pretend that they don't know things that might be obvious. Now they will start the interview process where they will go through a set of questionnaires. And this might be a long list of questionnaires, like 50 to 100 questions with yes or no kind of answers. Things like, have you been involved in criminal activity? Have you been involved in trafficking? Have you done any drug trafficking? Were you involved in any domestic violence? Did you have any DUIs? Did you have any traffic tickets? Those sort of things. It will cover a whole range of criminal kind of questions, and you will need to answer them truthfully, yes or no. Now remember, they have access to your federal database, they have access to your DMV database, your registration database, your license information, and even any of the police records in the local police station. It's all public information. So make sure you are truthful in your answers. If you had any convictions, any arrest, make sure you note them. It's not necessarily a bad thing if you agree that you had some of those things. But if you lie, the visa officer knows about it. So make sure you truthfully answer all the questions. Because some of the questions like parking tickets or traffic violations, these are minor offenses and they are not going to make or break your case. So be truthful about them. Now there are some tricky questions that you might want to pay very close attention to. Now some of these questions might be because the visa officers are so used to marriage-based interviews. So they will try to determine if your marriage is valid. Now they will ask questions like, where did you meet your spouse? When did you first meet your spouse? They could ask you questions like, what is the birth date of your father-in-law or mother-in-law? These are tricky questions, and be truthful if you know them. If you don't, that's okay. That's just to test whether you have a valid relationship with your spouse. Through all this tense interview setting, there are lighter moments that the visa officer will share with you just to make you feel relaxed, and that is a good thing. There are some other important questions that they will ask you, and you want to make sure you answer them in the right way. They will ask you, are you going to vote? Now, green card or permanent residency does not give you the right to vote in the United States. So your answer should be no. They will also ask you, have you ever voted in the past? And if you haven't, tell them truthfully that you haven't, because this is very critical. This could be a make or break question, because fraudulent voting in the United States will break your case. So make sure you answer this question very carefully. Then at the end, they will ask you, do you have any documents to offer? Now this is the time when you give them your latest medical exam report, which is I-693. The officer will accept it anyways, even if the one previously submitted was valid. Then they also will ask you questions about your current job and future job. They will check to see if the job that you mentioned in your 140 is similar to the one that you are currently doing or will be doing right after you get your green card. Now at this point of time, if you have changed your job during the waiting time of your green card processing, you will be asked to give the supplement J. Now your employer must have given you this supplement J if you have changed your job using the AC-21 rule. They will read through the supplement J and make sure your job is in the same classification and similar to that was mentioned in I-140. Now those were the critical things. There will be some other questions that they may ask you. The interview can last anywhere between 20 to 45 minutes, and you will not notice this time. It will pass by very fast because you are so tensed, you are answering all the questions, and that time will fly by in no time. At the end of the interview, the officer might give you an indication of the outcome of the interview. They might say they need to do some further processing or further checks before they make a decision, or they might say that your interview went very well, and that might be a hint for you whether your interview was successful. Now at the end of the interview, they will thank you and they will escort you outside the office. Now make sure you collect all your original documents back from them, because they will return it back to you, like your birth certificate, marriage certificate, and so on. So make sure you carry them back with you outside the interview. In most of the cases, if the visa number is available at the time of your interview, they will make a decision right then, and you will get a notification if you have signed up for USCIS website that your I-485 application has been approved. Sometimes some people get a notification that your new card is being processed. That is an indication that your interview was successful and your green card was approved. In some cases, it might take a little bit longer, especially when your priority date is still not current. I have seen people getting an interview notices even if their priority date was not current. So if the interview has already happened, then they will have to wait until their priority date gets current, and at that time they will be issued a green card. So that's it really I wanted to share as part of this video. I know a lot of people are going through this process, especially since the EB category dates have moved a lot further. A lot of people are already current. They will get green card interview notices in the next couple of months. I thought I will make this timely video to give you an indication of what to expect at the EB category green card interview. So I hope you got some information out of this video, and if you did, please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.